And welcome back to the channel where we talk about only good comics. I'm Brant, and this is Friday First. This is that series where we talk about those brand new number one issues, new character debuts, new story arcs, and the like. And this is for books that are coming out on December 18th, 2024. So, um, before I get into all of that, if you are new to the channel, this is my main series, but I also do shorts occasionally. I've been a little lax on those for the past couple of weeks, hoping to get back to that very soon with the holidays. It's probably going to get busy, and I'm going to be a little bit more sparse with that. And I still plan to do the holiday edition of this show that I mentioned last week. I just haven't had time this week to get it together. So hopefully I'll get that out before Christmas. Yeah, so again, with the holidays coming up, I'm going to try to stay on schedule because none of them fall on Fridays or near Fridays, but we'll see. We'll play that by ear. There is a chance that maybe I'll miss one here or there. But anyway, that's that. So if you're new to the show, I hope you enjoy it. The format is basically I do a few recaps from books from last week. Then I share all the first issues that have caught my attention in one way or another that are coming out next week. Then I'll share some other books that I'm looking forward to as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. My rating, I have a 4P rating, so it's either possibly good, potentially good, um, promisingly good, or positively good. And those are my rankings, basically a 4-star kind of thing. So it's all good though. All good here. Only good comics, as the channel says. So let's get into it. I've got 5 recaps. I've actually read 5 of the first issues that came out this week already, so I can talk about those. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Laura Kinney, Wolverine. This is written by Erica Schultz with art by Giada Belviso, and this is kind of spinning out of the X books. Laura is trying to kind of figure out what her place is post Krakoa and all that stuff. What we got here was an interesting mesh of like a crime noir kind of vibe in the narration style, mixed with just like a superhero kind of throwdown adventure kind of book. She is out with Miss Marvel, which it was nice to see Kamala in there, and Sophie, and they are just kind of walking around. She finds they're by the treehouse, the old X-Men treehouse. She finds this letter about this missing mutant, and this sets her off on a mission to start rescuing mutants in trouble. And it takes her to, I think it's Madripoor, where she encounters this whole ring of mutants being taken and all this stuff. So that's what it's about basically, and it kind of sets the tone for what it's going to be going forward, which is her helping mutants that need help and can't help themselves. So that's kind of where we're going with Laura. It was nice to see Miss Marvel and Sophie, and it gave me hopes that other characters might pop up. Maybe we'll see Gabby. Maybe we'll see other characters. In next issue, it looks like she's going to be facing off against Elektra for some reason. So I don't know. I was kind of in the middle on this one. I liked the concept of it. I liked the action. I liked some of Laura's narration, but at the same time, it felt the meshing of the vibes was a little weird. So I didn't really know how to feel about it ultimately, and I don't know if it's going to keep me long term. I'll come back for another issue and see how I feel about it. Next up, we have Batman Dark Patterns issue number 1. This is written by Dan Waters with art by Hayden Sherman. Um, Dan Waters has written a few books that I've really enjoyed. Uh, Based on the preview that we got in the back of DC Comics last week or the week before, I can't remember. I wasn't sure I was going to like this book. It didn't grab me in that preview, but reading this, it felt a little more interesting until I saw the villain. And the villain, it didn't appeal to me at all. So, and that's not a knock on the writing. It was actually a very well written book. This is early on in Batman's career. He's not quite as proficient as he becomes later on. He is surprised a few times in this issue. and it's kind of interesting in that way. But he is ever the detective, and that comes through here. There's some weird characters involved that we meet, and that kind of makes the story more interesting. Will I come back for an issue two? It depends on the week, I think. And it's not that it was a bad book by any stretch of the imagination. The art style kind of fit the vibe that it was going for. I just didn't love the villain, and that's kind of what it boils down to. I don't know that I'm gonna like seeing this story. And by the way, if you have not read this, it is kind of gruesome, and it's very graphic from the jump as to what this villain is doing to his victims. So just keep that in mind. I don't know what the book is rated, but I was kind of surprised by that. So again, this is another one I'm kind of in the middle on. Again, not because it's a bad book. I just don't know if it's a book for me. That's all it is. A book that is definitely for me, though, is Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue number one. This is the prequel to the animated series that I believe is on Disney Plus. Um, and it may already be out. It does say in the comic, go watch it episode one to find out where this expands on and stuff like that. So uh, I will say this: as soon as this book opens up, you meet Peter Parker, this version of Peter Parker, and he is making friends. This is at the origin story. This is as he's getting bit by the spider, and he's making friends with Nico. I'm just like, okay, I'm in on this because this is a completely different take. This is something unique, and we're taking a character that I like from Runaways and from other, various books that she's been in since then, and kind of rewriting history and kind of plugging her into Peter's early life here. And it seems like there's going to be some different mashups with that. We've got a younger version of Aunt May in here, just like the Tom Holland movies, kind of, or at least younger looking. So it's a very interesting way that they're playing with the mythos here and just doing their own thing with it. And I appreciated that from the very beginning. Some of the situations are different. I think the way Uncle Ben died was different as well, but in the way he gets the powers are different. How he approaches them is different. All of that is different, and it makes me excited to check out this cartoon because it's like, okay, this is going to be something that is familiar but still unique on its own. So I quite enjoyed it. I thought the art was really nice. I love the what's the word I'm looking for? Um, the chemistry between Nico and Peter, just their friendship because they're completely opposite types of characters. One is a do-goody, uh, nerdy kind of it's Peter Parker, and then you have Nico, who's a rebel, who is outspoken, who is kind of cool. So it's very different, personality types that have come together and formed a friendship right off the bat. So it's really interesting to play with that concept. So I'm excited to see that going forward. Next up, we have Ultimate Universe 1 year in. This was not quite what I expected it to be. As a matter of fact, I don't really think it gave us a whole lot. I was a little disappointed by this, to be honest. It wasn't bad. I like the narrative of this this version of Nick Fury, who is embedded within this council that is run by the Maker, that has the Hulk and the Rasputins, et cetera, all under the Maker's thumb, and Nick Fury is one of these people, and he's concocted this elaborate plan that he's dictating in his mind because he can't record it, he can't put it down on paper or anything like that, to kind of get revenge on all these people that are doing these awful things that he's become a part of. And the twist at the end is very interesting, and it kind of paints the picture of how much control and how much influence this council has, and how maybe unstoppable they could be. But at the same time, that's really all we got. We got a 3, maybe 4 page teaser on Ultimate Wolverine, which we knew was coming in this book, and we see that the origin, even though it takes place in a different way and in a different place, it's basically the same thing. But the name of this Wolverine character very different, and I like the direction that went. So I'm excited to see more Ultimate Wolverine going forward. But as far as this main story, this lead story with Nick Fury, that really gave us nothing as far as recapping anything that came before or giving us any hints for the future. It didn't really do that. And that's kind of what the book promised. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. The Superwoman Special, issue number 1, is a book that I was not disappointed in. And I've seen some confusing reviews that people didn't love this book as much as I did. And I don't understand that because I thought this book was fantastic. Uh, it was very well written. The art is very nice. The pacing is dead on. I love the way that it was a recap, but it was told from the point of view of Lois pitching a story to her friends like she would to Perry White. And that's kind of explained in the story why she does this. And it made perfect sense. And so it's everything that's happened from Absolute Power and how she got her powers from her perspective and told in a way that, yes, it was an info dump, but it was a conversational info dump that felt very natural and organic and conveyed the information that we needed, which was how she got her powers and what this means and where they came from ultimately with the cliffhanger that we are left with, which just made the issue so much better seeing that because you know the repercussions are coming from that. And then there's like little hints about something with Lex Luthor that maybe she doesn't want to know that is being kept from her and where that's going to go. So we opened up a bunch or a couple of plot threads that we're going to pull at in the main Superman series going forward, and we got the answers that we were looking for. So I thought top to bottom, fantastic issue. I really enjoyed it. All right, so let's get into those first issues for next week. So we're going to start off with my one and only shout out this week, which is Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger Spawn. I'm shouting this out because my good friend Mike Spiderslayer really likes Gunslinger Spawn. So this book is just, I guess it's just a one. Is it a one shot? I'm not sure if it's a one. I assume it's a one shot. That's all about Gunslinger Spawn. It tells his true origin that is finally revealed in full in this issue. So obviously, if you've been reading Gunslinger Spawn, this is a book that you're going to want to get so you can read that full origin. This is set in the past before he's pulled to the future. So all that stuff. So if you're a fan of this character, like my friend Mike, you want to check this one out. Okay, I'm cheating with this one a little bit. This is Deadpool issue number 9. I'm including this one because it says that this is a major turning point that you don't want to miss in this issue. So I don't know that it's necessarily the beginning of a new arc, but there is a key moment that potentially happens in this book. So you might want to pay attention to it. So I wanted to include it on this to let you know, make you aware that something big may be happening in this issue. I love this series. I think this one is a fantastic series. And right now, Deadpool is dead, and his daughters, both the symbiote daughter, Princess, and his actual daughter, Ellie, are taking charge, and they're being trained under Taskmaster, and they're carrying out missions and all this stuff, and it's fun. Now we have a MODOK that it describes here as mercenary offspring deployed only for killing Ellie. So a MODOK to take on Deadpool's daughter. That just sounds like a fun time. And for me, because I love this book, I think Cody Ziegler is a fantastic fit for this book. I'm giving this one a positively good because I have enjoyed this from issue 1, and not a single issue has disappointed. Next up, another little cheat with Red Code number 8, because last issue was kind of a filler issue, it was kind of a transitional thing. So this might technically be the start of a new arc. It is a new adventure. It's set in 1873 in Kansas, so we know that it's in a different place, different time, different story going on here with Simon Pure. But I'm here for it. I enjoy this series quite a bit. It's not my favorite Ghost Machine series, but it is a really enjoyable read. The last issue with Albert Einstein and kind of recapping some things was really emotional, and you saw a side of Simon Pure that we hadn't seen before. So he's growing over the centuries. He is an immortal character, and he gets into all kinds of trouble. It's a fun series, so I'm giving this one a promisingly good, just based on my enjoyment of the first arc. All right, now we're getting into the proper first issues here. The Cursed Library, Unbound, issue number one. This is the final installment in the Cursed one shots from Archie Comics. So if you've been reading these, this is the last chapter to this whole thing, where Jinx is possibly going to take Satan's throne. So it's very dark, very horrific in an Archie style. So not incredibly dark, but dark enough. So I've read parts of this. I think I missed the middle somewhere, but I'm curious to see how it ends. I'm giving this one though a potentially good, because you just never know with these whether they're going to hit the right notes for you personally as well. Next up is Missing on the Moon, issue number one from Mad Cave, and this is an interesting concept here. It's set in 1997. It's about this private eye who is kind of washed up, and he stumbles into this case with this missing billionaire's daughter, and it takes him on this journey that has him encountering, as it says here, a world of undead drug addicts, mechanized robocops, and blue-skinned Soviets known as Darksiders to discover the truth. So he also has to confront all these things from his past and atone for mistakes that he's made. And it describes itself as a neon noir obsession. So interesting concept there. Art by Damien Cosero, who's done X-Force, Ghost Rider 2099, TMNT. So you got a solid art style there. I'm not familiar with the writer Corey Crater, but it sounded interesting enough for me to check out the first issue. Mad Cave does a lot of really cool stuff. So I'm giving this one a potentially good, and we'll see what it has in store. From Image Comics, I believe this is the first book in the Ninth Circle imprint or brand or whatever it is, but this is by Garth Ennis and Mike Perkins, and it is a twisted horror tale. It says, obviously Garth Ennis from The Boys and Preacher, and Mike Perkins from Swamp Thing, Batman First Night. And this is Hollywood After Dark. We got werewolves, vampires, zombies, aliens, boogeyman, predators, and things. They all have their kinks, and they get in some stuff. So, as it says, when they do, they call Freddie to fix it. He's the fixer. The fixer in this horror, supernatural kind of thing. So, really interesting. I'm not the hugest fan of Garth Ennis, but I know a lot of people are. But I'm definitely going to check it out because that's got me intrigued. It's interesting, to say the least, and I'm very curious about it. So I'm going to give this one I'm going to give it a promisingly good, just because I think the art looks pretty solid. The concept is kind of out there, and you've got top-notch creative team on it. And so yeah, promisingly good for me for a horror book, believe it or not. Speaking of horror books, we've got the Horizon Experiment Mother. We'll say Freaking Monsters number one here. This is the latest in the Horizon Experiment one shots, where they take TV writers take classic concepts and mix them up with like a different setting or a different perspective, etc. This one is describing it as, it's from the writer of The Handmaid's Tale and Marvel's Jessica Jones, by the way. So very acclaimed writer here, and cartoonist Michael Lee Harris did some work I'm not familiar with. Black Hitler, Choco Leche, I'm not familiar with that. But they are telling a story of an Evil Dead for Black nerds. That's what it says in the description there. Modern spin on the action-packed horror comedy for fans of Bitterroot and Chew. So I do like Chew. I haven't read Bitterroot, but I really like Jessica Jones. I've heard good things about The Handmaid's Tale, even though it's very dark. So yeah, that sounds like an interesting one to me. So I don't know. We'll have to see what this one is all about. I'm gonna give it a potentially good though, because not really my genre, my chosen genre. But because I'm not a big Evil Dead fan. But still, I'm intrigued by this one as well. So I've been trying all the rest. Definitely gonna try this one also. Benjamin Percy continues the saga of the Hellverine in Hellverine issue number one. We did learn previously, and I think it's still the same, that Dakin is the Hellverine. If I hope that didn't spoil anything from you from the previous. I don't know if it was a miniseries or a one shot or what it was. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, brand new Hellverine series. This is not necessarily for me, but I did want to bring it to everyone's attention. If you are a fan of this character, or you're a fan of Benjamin Percy's take on Ghost Rider and Wolverine, which he wrote both, may still be writing both. I don't recall, but you might want to check this one out. For me, um, just because I'm gonna be an advocate for fans of this book and give it a promisingly good, just based on what little I read before. I did actually like what I read about Hellverine before. It just wasn't my type of book, and it wasn't one that I'm not the hugest like Ghost Rider fan, and so mixing that element with this, it just wasn't for me. And I read so many books that I just have to make cuts. So it was one of those that just kind of made didn't make the cut for me. So, but for fans of it, promisingly good, because it's my show, and why not? Next from DC Comics is a book that I actually did not expect. This is Green Lantern Green Arrow World's Finest Special, issue number one. It is a special, it's a one shot, it's oversized, but I am so excited for this now that I know it exists, because it's Jeremy Adams. I started to say writing and Adams at the same time, but it's Jeremy Adams writing Green Lantern and Green Arrow and telling a Flash backup story. So, I mean, all of those things, that's gold in my opinion. I don't even have to read the description. Yes, it's involving Deathstroke. I don't care. This is positively good for me. I'm gonna read this, I'm gonna enjoy it, and I'm gonna wish there was more issues of it to come. Next up is Challengers of the Unknown, issue number one. If you read Justice League Unlimited, you know that the Challengers of the Unknown are all over the Watchtower. They're kind of keeping it running. They're trying to figure out all these things. And so now in this spinoff of that, they have to team up with the heavy hitters, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and the rest of the league to try to seal all these rifts that are threatening the galaxy from this dark side attack. So that's kind of what this series is going to be about. So if you're a fan of Challengers, or just kind of exploring these side stories, they're leaping out of Absolute Power and out of the Justice League Unlimited series, this might be one for you. The question was good, so this one might be as well. The creative team is Christopher Cantwell, so phenomenal writer, with art by Sean Izaxi. Not familiar with the artist, but I do like Campbell's writing. So, it could be a really strong series. We'll just have to see. But I'm going to give it a potentially good, just because I don't know what to expect of it. Okay, next up we have, also from DC Comics, The New Gods, issue number one. An old god has died, and now reverberations are being felt across the galaxy, across the universe, etc. But this has been prophesied by the source, and now Metron, who is bringing the world of this cosmos-shattering prediction to all the residents of New Genesis and Apocalypse, and now both worlds are thrown into another conflict. Not like they've never been in conflict before, but now Scott Free and Barda, who are on Earth, obviously they're unaware of everything that's going on, and they are parents now, and we're going to explore that. We saw their kid in the multiverses, kind of a fun spin-off thing. But so a lot going on in this book. This is written by Ron B, who is kind of hit and miss for me personally. There's some stuff that Ron B writes that I'm just like, oh, that's so good. Other stuff I'm just like, it's not for me. Not that it's bad, it's just not for me. So we'll see which side this falls on. Jorge Fornes is the artist. I'm not familiar with the artist there, but yeah. So I don't know. I'm not the hugest New Gods fan either. I like Apocalypse. I like Darkseid, but and obviously with his death, obviously what they're pointing to. Sorry if that's a spoiler. That's been out for a while, and the whole Absolute Universe and all that stuff. You should know about this. But anyway, um, obviously having an impact here, and I'm very curious to see what that impact is. So I'm going to give it a potentially good. And lastly, the long awaited TVA issue number one. Another book that I don't know how to feel about, but knowing who's writing it makes me more curious. So this is written by Catherine Blair, who wrote um, Loki season two, or I don't know if she wrote the entire season, but she wrote in Loki season two, the MCU TV series on Disney Plus. So that kind of broadens my curiosity because on this past week's episode of Comic Book Weekly, I made the statement that I felt like the TVA worked better in the MCU than it does in the comics. And now bringing in a writer from the TV show that clearly wrote TVA content into the comics and kind of telling that version of it makes it more interesting and raises the potential for it, which is what I'm giving this book is a potentially good because I don't know how to feel about this book because we're also throwing in the Spider-Gwen stuff from the Spider-Gwen series into this and where she fits into all of these plans. Gambit is here as well, or at least a version of Gambit. Captain Peggy Carter is thrown in here, so we're getting a lot of different characters. So we're going to pull at a lot of threads. Don't know exactly where it's going to go. Perry Perez is on this, so good art style. But I'm confused and curious at the same time, so I don't know how to feel about it. So it's getting potentially good. And that's it for the first issues for next week. That's all the ones that I'm going to talk about. I'm sure there are other first issues that are coming out that maybe are on your radar. If I missed anything big, let me know. But otherwise, I hope I inspired you to check out a new comic. But before I go, I'm going to, as I said at the beginning of the show, talk about a few other books that are on my radar that I'm looking forward to this coming week. So the first one, also talking about all this DC spinning out of absolute power, is The Question All Along the Watchtower, issue number 2. I really like that first issue. It surprised me pleasantly. Watchmen kind of hints here and there, little teases, at the very least Easter eggs. But I'm very curious to see who that character was at the end and where this series is going and if my suspicions come true or not. The Rockefellers, issue number 2. Issue 1 was a lot of setup. I'm hoping to dig more into the characters and further the plot a little bit more in issue 2 and going forward. So hopefully it becomes more and more enjoyable as we learn more about the characters. So we'll see. Tin Can Society, issue number 4. This is a phenomenal series. If you are sleeping on this, you should not. You should go pick this up. It's a really strong, kind of heavy series. But it's a murder mystery about a superhero who was physically challenged, and now all of his friend group, all of them are suspects, and they're all suspicious of each other. So it's just a really strong series. So you should check it out. Power Rangers Prime, issue number 2. Issue 1 was really good. It's a kind of a reboot of the entire Power Rangers franchise. The entire landscape of the world is different than you've ever seen in Power Rangers before. Zordon's people had come already. They've taken over the Earth. I forget what the word is, but they've just kind of taken over leadership of the Earth, and Power Rangers are outlawed and all this stuff. It's just a complete opposite take on Power Rangers. And that first issue was really solid. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, issue number 5. We finally got through all 4 of the first issues, each one focused on a single turtle and kind of where their path had taken them. Now they're all back together, and now we get to see what this actual story is going to be about, and I'm excited for that. Absolute Batman number 3. This is the standout of the Absolute book so far. The Batman story is just heads and shoulders above the rest. So I cannot wait for issue 3. G.I. Joe issue number 2. You guys know I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan, lifelong since I was 6 years old. I love this franchise. Issue 1, just love it, and I cannot wait to read more of anything from the Energon universe ever. And then Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 12. This is the best Spider-Man book that we've had in a long time. It is so good. It's the best book of the Ultimate Universe as well. And so obviously I'm looking forward to that next issue of that as well. But with that said, that is it. That's all I've got to talk about this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It helps the channel, makes me feel good, makes my day, all that good stuff. Hit that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss any of the other shows, episodes, content that go up on this channel. Of course, you can follow me across social media at Only Good Comics, or type in onlygoodcomics.com to take you right back to this YouTube channel where we talk about only good comics. Until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. Keep reading those comics. I'll see you soon.